Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2014 Ford F-150 FX4 Lariat. Up front is a 5.0 liter V8, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this F-150 for two reasons. First of all, the F-150 is such a staple here in the United States, and so I get messages all the time from viewers abroad that love seeing vehicles that they can't get in their home markets, and the F-150 might be one of them, so I'm excited to share with my international friends. But the second reason is the fact that I think this is a very tastefully done F-150. I like the graphics, I like the exhaust, I like the leveling kit, and we'll talk about all of that a little bit later on. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 5-liter Coyote V8 under the hood. Well, that is, of course, the engine that you want. There was a lot of engines offered in this 12th generation F-150. The Coyote is the one. The earlier trucks did have the 4.6 liter modular V8, which isn't a bad engine. It's actually a very good engine. However, it just makes less power. And they started getting into the EcoBoost engines with this generation. I would honestly steer clear of those if you can. Some of them had issues, not all of them, but some of them did. A little bit of teething issues. They were so new at the time that not everything had been worked out properly, and so 5-liter is definitely what you want. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Does the job, shifts well, no complaints. Last but not least, of course, the FX4 is 4-wheel drive. However, they did make an FX2 that is, you guessed it, 2-wheel drive. So if that's something that you want, you could find an FX2. How does it feel to drive the F-150? Well, it's great. Here's the thing, this is leveled, and what that means is that trucks naturally from the factory sort of dip forward. The front suspension is normally a little bit shorter than the rear suspension because they anticipate you putting things into the bed and it will sort of sag down. The owner has put a leveling kit on this particular truck, meaning the front end is now level with the rear end, so that does add a little bit of harshness to the suspension. It rides a little bit harder, but it's not super noticeable unless you've driven one with and without it, which I have, so that's my feeling there. Other than that, drives like any old pickup truck. However, this particular truck does have a Roush exhaust system on it, which I think sounds pretty good. Yeah, sounds real good. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of gauges. So off to the left is the FX tachometer. In the center, we get our oil pressure, coolant temperature, fuel, and transmission temperature. We get a screen in the center as well. Ford was starting to integrate this in this era, and it's very, very helpful. And off to the right, we have the speedometer. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our cruise control options. And off to the right, we have volume, skip track, media, and phone. Off to the left of the steering wheel, we do have our climate control vent. We have our headlights, as well as gauge dimmer switch. And moving out of the door, we have power mirrors up top, power locks, and power windows down below. Moving into the center, we have our hill descent control and traction control off just up above the infotainment system. Through here, you can operate your heated and ventilated seats, but also you do get nice things like a backup camera, entertainment, climate information, and things like that. This also will pipe the sound through a Sony sound system, which the Sony subwoofer is actually under the rear seat, which is very, very nice and pretty unique here for the F-150. To the left of the infotainment, we do have our 4-wheel drive settings. We also have locking differential settings. Very, very nice, along with our trailer brake adjustment down below that. And off to the right, we have a 12-volt outlet with another climate control vent and a cubby. In the center, we have a number pad, something you do not see in cars anymore. We have volume, tune, and of course our physical climate controls. So you can run the climate controls through the screen, and you actually do need to rely on the screen for the heated and ventilated seats, but the rest of the climate controls also have physical versions, which is very, very helpful, especially in a truck. Down below, we do have a cubby. We have the shifter off to the left, and we do have cup holders off to the right. Now, it does have these little inserts that you can remove, and then it will, in fact, accept the big friggin' bottle. Then we get a center console and the seats. As I mentioned, the seats are heated, ventilated, power, and memory. Anything you could really want from a modern seat, this F-150 has, and it is very comfortable. The Lariat has always been a relatively comfortable trim for the F-150s and F-Series trucks in general. Of course, it's not the very, very top platinum, but it is still very comfy and has a lot of options, and you notice that here with the seats. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the F-150, and as you can see right now, the seats are in their up position, which is very, very helpful. Then to release it, you just pull here and let them down. And there you go. You get actual back seats. Climbing in, grab handle here, sitting down, closing the door. This is where F-150 started to get a lot of rear space. And you can tell that here. Knees are not even coming close to the seat in front of me. My head has no prayer of hitting the ceiling above me. So very, very nice, spacious back seat here in the F-150. We do get climate vents, very nice to see that. We also do get a wall outlet and a 12-volt outlet, so all your charging and device needs will be met in the back here of the F-150. We get a light over our head, and that is the Sony subwoofer that I had mentioned earlier. So tons and tons of space around in the back of the F-150, and I like that a lot. Let's hop into the back. We'll take a quick look at the bed, and then we'll talk about the looks. Right around the back of the F-150, pull the handle down here, and there you go. It is a very regular truck bed with very regular things. You have some tie downs, but that's really it. We do have a nice tonneau cover on top as well, but no speakers or color changing lights in the tailgate, no power operated tailgate, just a tried and true original. There you go. Really, really simple. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I do like the look of this generation of F-150. It's not my favorite generation, as I've said, but I think it is handsome, and it's also not overstated. The graphics on the side might be a little much, but besides that, it's not gaudy and in your face. It's not trying to get your attention. It's not screaming bloody murder, saying, "Look at me!" like some of these modern trucks are. These modern trucks have grills the size of Oklahoma. And for what? For why? For who? Well, this is very subtle and reserved as compared to more modern trucks, and I like that a lot. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another F-150 from the 12th generation? Well, I like it a lot. Huge touch points. The best parts of this truck are A, the engine, Exhibit A. And that's really the only exhibit that you need. Let's be honest with that. But B, there's just something so honest about this truck. You know, as I mentioned with the looks, it's not overstated, it's not in your face, it's not too blingy. This is still a truck for truck things, where I feel like a lot of modern trucks have almost morphed into a fashion accessory. This isn't that. This is true and dedicated to work. Sure, it might comfort you a little bit better than a base trades truck. Heated ventilated seats, sure, and I'm sure many people out there still say that it's too much, you don't need that in your truck, blah, blah, blah. But it's nice to have. But the screen in here isn't half the interior. The seats aren't made of a rare leather where the cows live above the tree line, so they don't scrape on branches, so they have no blemishes. That's a real thing I learned that Ferrari does. Ferrari actually finds cows that live above the timberline so their leather doesn't have stick gashes in it. It's none of that. This truck isn't a prima donna. It's not a drama queen. Very straight and straightforward. And we just don't see trucks like this really that much anymore in the modern era. Everything's a statement, everything's a fashion accessory, and this just isn't. And that's actually very, very nice. It's a useful tool as trucks were intended to be. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Connor for letting me borrow his F-150 for today's video. Connor's been absolutely wonderful. I also reviewed his Mercury Grand Marquis, so he is a Ford man at heart, and I can obviously see why. He has great taste. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.